Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com. Hi, I'm Joe Mishka. Welcome to another episode of Rural Heritage TV. The 2023 American Brabant Fall Rendezvous was held at the Jordan Farm in West Virginia. American Brabant owners were able to visit with one another as well as show their horses to people interested in the breed. The event also featured a demonstration by Sherry Holland of Dover, Tennessee, of how she treats horses' legs with coconut oil and sulfur to mitigate some of the symptoms of CPD in Brabants, Clydesdales, Gypsy Vanners, Shires, and other feathered draft horses. That's a lot to show you, so we better get started.
I don't remember for sure. So we'll start off on the fourth. Start off on the fourth, drop four, and we'll see if we get tied up. Over. Deep. Over. Back. Back. Boop. That? I think you're going to be working the bottom with me. We got to go to the bottom and work our way up to clear the trail. I'm going to take this one down because I had my chain under it already. I guess I got to bump a little. That stick's actually a danger because it could grab my tire, but.
This cart's got them things on it.
I cut them off of mine. First thing. Chain.
Pump you over.
Good.
Did you ever meet this guy, Todd, from Georgia?
Yeah, once before at Carrie Burton? Yeah, Carrie Burton's place near Paducah, Kentucky. Melbourne, Kentucky. He was at a field day there.
He said let this one be the last one for right now.
Tell me about your horses.
All right, my stallion there is Pete. I got him from Jason when he was 1 year old, and I got him with a horse named Jewel, and was going to use her to help raise him and train him, but she was aged and she died, and so I had to get another one. Went back up there and got a Percheron from his Amish friend. I can't call it Abner from Abner, and I used him to raise him on up and get him where I thought I could handle him by himself. And then Rose came available from Dave Myers, and I went up there to his farm and got her as a weanling, 4-month-old weanling, and I've raised her along with Pete, and we've been doing the best that we know how to do, you know, and we're kind of hobbyists for the most part, and we try to pay attention to what Jason says, what Joshua says, and kind of turn out the noise from the rest of the world on it, you know. So
They're driving good for you. You must work them a bit at home.
good bit.
Yeah.
I try to probably 4 or 5 days a week.
What kind of stuff do you do?
Well, I kind of play at truck farming. I do some vegetable work and gardening work, and I skid up all of our stove wood, and we heat with wood and things like that. And I'm not yet comfortable with her. Now, Pete and Mike that we had got from Abner, they have been through the drive-through at the Dairy Queen in town and did well. But
Very well.
with her, we're not to the point where we're ready for traffic yet. So, but we're working on it, and we'll see how it goes. You know. Whoa!
And who's here with you?
This is my son Michael.
Yeah.
He's a Georgia Tech student, and he's out here helping me a little bit. He kind of took the horses, so.
You like fooling with the horses?
Oh yeah, I like it a lot.
It's a.
What are you studying?
Aerospace engineering.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
You're going to be a rocket scientist. Yeah.
Work for
Something like that.
Elon Musk one day, maybe. So.
Maybe.
We now have 4 volumes of America's Rural Yesterday books with photos of farm life 100 years ago. Fieldwork has images of horses in the fields working the ground, planting and harvesting the crop. Barn and Farmyard shows farmers putting that crop in the barn, silo or corn crib and caring for poultry, hogs, cattle and more. In At Home and in Town, farm families prepare Sunday dinner, relax in the parlor, drive to town by buggy or wagon and visit the general store. Finally, Early Tractors has over 250 photos of early American tractors like Alice Chalmers, Oliver, John Deere, Farmall, Minneapolis Moline, and many more. These photos are of new tractors back in the day and show how they were configured coming out of the factory. Buy any of these books for $24.95 plus shipping. When you buy 2 or more, the price per book goes down, all the way to $17.49 per book when you buy all 4. To order, just call 1-877-647-2452 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com. That's 877-647-2452.
My name is Mike Jordan, and I'm on the executive board for the American Brabant Horse Association. I live in West Virginia. I was born and raised in West Virginia. We own 150 acres in Barber County, and we started out in draft horses, mostly just for logging and just light duty farm work. And the longer it went, the more we got into it. We weren't able to find the type of draft horses that we wanted. So we had a pair of Belgian mares and a Persian mare, and I reached out to Jason Julian in 2015, and he put me in contact with a breeder that had a stud colt available. So we bought that horse, SS Simon. He came out of Minnesota from Tom Schmidt's breeding program, and we used that horse. We have 5 daughters of his on the farm now. So we imported a German Rhenish cold blood from Germany. He's a 2-year-old now, so we are utilizing him. We have 3 mares in foal to him now, so it will be our 2nd generation into American Brabants, and we're pretty dedicated and set on that breed now with what we're seeing reproductively and the ability to flesh easy. These mares breed back every year, and there's a lot of longevity in those horses. So we're I'm fairly low percentage compared to a lot of the breeders because I like the lack of feather. If you breed a horse that you have to shave the legs to keep the horse healthy, why not breed a better horse and do away with that feather? So the options here are hitch bred, high metabolism, a lot of vertical action, not good farm horses. The options in Europe, for the most part, outside of Germany, the Belgians coming from Belgium, they are slower, lethargic, bred for meat still, and lots of heavy feathering. So we're crossing the lighter horses in America with the heavier horses in Europe, and coming up with a good 1920 style draft horse. So that's kind of the plan. I farm full time with horses during the summer. We do about 90 to 95% of our farm work with horses. And I log in the winters. My wife and I own vintage horse logging, and we log in the winter, farm in the summer. We just kind of have a diversified farm here in West Virginia. So we do some crops, corn, oats, and then all of the tillage, primary tillage, secondary tillage, all the planting and all the harvesting is done with horses. All of our hay is mowed, tedded, raked with horses. We put some hay loose in the barn. We do small squares with a power cart, but I do round bale with a tractor. So that's kind of the operation that we have going here. We have, my kids run a grass-based laying hen program. We have about 100 layers. So they sell eggs. They're not on the allowance program. So I built them a chicken house. We bought them some chickens, got them started, and they're selling eggs on the farm, and then they buy chicks when they need them and incubate eggs. So we do sheep, we do beef cattle, and we do draft horses. So that's kind of what we do here.
I'll go up here to the flat and turn, whoop, and then I'll put lift on that log, okay? Okay. So this is a tulip poplar. Some people here call it yellow poplar.
Yeah.
It is a hardwood. It's not popple like they get up north that they call aspen. This is a
Right.
magnolia species
Okay.
tree. So very, very good framing material. Painted white kitchen cabinets. And they also put these trees on a rotary blade and peel these to make plywood and laminated veneer lumber.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Poplar's a very good species in West Virginia. It's kind of the staple. It's always got a decent market, so good value, pretty good wood.
And you're pulling out select trees.
Yes, we're selecting this. I cut this in 2016, and the man that owned the property before me had cattle, and he had a bandsaw mill, and he cut some timber and did some things, but there was no woods exclusion fence. The cattle were allowed in the woods, did a lot of damage. We come in a few years ago, took some trees out that needed to go. We are single tree selecting this. We're picking trees that need to go for various reasons. So yeah, we're trying to leave the better ones, and it's not a diameter limit cut. We're cutting 14-inch trees that have no potential and leaving 20-inch trees that do have potential. So we're looking for return. So that's the goal. First thing we did was we cut the bad trees and we built fence to keep the cattle and the horses out of the woods. This is a 25-foot stick. It's a double. It'll be cut double 12 and a half. But
Okay.
I've just got a short uphill skid, and then it's all downhill. So the horses get more tired coming back to the logs
Right.
than they do taking them to the landings.
Right. Right.
The good thing about West Virginia, if you're selective, and all your logging can be downhill, and that's very, very good. A lot of guys get into horse logging. They're desperate for work. They take on jobs they shouldn't take. I
Right.
can sit at home and not make any money. I don't want to go to the woods and kill myself and beat the horses up.
And not make any money.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So farming, logging works out good. Your horses are always in shape, and it works out pretty good because you're ready to plow in the spring, and your horses never get too mushy. So
Great.
Pam, go.
Well, we have developed an interest in draft horses and would like to have draft horses of our own. And we actually saw the advertisement for this event on Rural Heritage and chose to make a road trip out of it, come and see and learn about the American Brabant.
You've got saddle horses at home?
We've had saddle
Okay.
horses in the past,
All right.
and we currently don't have any horses, but we both decided that when we got back into horses that we would go with draft horses. That was our desire. So it's going to be primarily just, we've got a small farm and we would like to work the horses on the farm is what the reason be. We've also got grandchildren and would like to see them grow up around horses.
Sure. So have you had a good time here? Has it been?
It's been a great time. People are wonderful. It's beautiful country, but the people have been really friendly and glad to share their knowledge with you, which is something that we've really appreciated.
And you've liked seeing what you've seen so far about the American Brabants?
Yes, yes. They seem to be very, their disposition, I guess, is what I'm impressed with as much as anything. Watching them in these different events and the ability to control them and how willing they are to be controlled by the teamsters.
You're so lucky. What do you got? What are you having, sir? Everything. Everything.
Okay. When you see my wife, you'll realize. What would you like, Nan? That. Oh. Ooh. This is probably famous last words, but we're going to try to pull out over 30 feet, and then we're going to divide it for what goes for sale and what stays on the farm. It's probably famous last words because this could get a little hanky, but anyways, it'll be one good pull here in a second. I'm not. I got to get them squared away better. Oh. Whoop. Good girls. So you want the 2 10-footers? If they're the same pile, yes. Okay. Whoop. Whoop. Good. Easy, girls.
I got started in 2015 when I purchased my first pair of Clydes. My 8-year-old mare had what was told to me was severe scratches.
Okay.
And it took me about 1.5 years to figure out what was going on. Nobody in the industry that was selling horses, which were the only people I knew, I don't know if they didn't know. I feel like half of them didn't know.
Okay.
Weren't quite sure, and then the other half just, they didn't want to talk about it.
They didn't want to acknowledge it.
No, they have to sell horses.
Right,
And 12, 13 vets later, None of them knew.
Okay.
And so I just dug it up on an old website that wasn't even current. I don't even know if it was still active anymore. And just went from there. It was an old Gypsy Banner website.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And
All
so
right.
I just took, most people use mineral oil. I started just thinking about how mineral oil coats, and coconut oil is more of an emollient and soaks into the skin.
Sure.
And so it just seemed like a better option, and went with the sulfur, which had been used for decades in wound creams, and saw a big improvement on
Great.
all the horses I worked on. So
And so now are you working on other horses, other people's horses?
I am. I'm trying not to.
I understand, yeah.
I'm trying to just spread the information.
It's hard to say no, though.
It is hard to say no because of the horse. The owners are easy to say no to.
Right, I hear
Because
ya.
most of them won't put in the work. They just want to pay you to come fix it. But it's maintenance, so you can't. It's an ongoing thing. You have to keep up with it. So it was nice to get involved with this association. It's finally the payoff for getting ripped to shreds for being the bearer of, the truth.
Right, yeah.
Especially being brand new into horses. I always got a finger wagged at me like, what do you know? We've been in this 60 years.
Right.
I'm like, well, I don't have anything to lose. I don't care if I win. I'm not breeding to sell.
Right.
I simply am just 100% vested in the horse. So
Right.
this keeps their legs nice and soft. It keeps them comfortable. Once they get a lot of scarring, the skin tends to get really thick. It dries out, and just the movement and flexion of the limb will cause it to break open. And once bacteria gets in that, it sets off an inflammatory reaction, and the leg swells. And that's where it's progressive. It just perpetuates itself. So if you can keep these legs oiled, ideally if you can do them every 10 days for 2 or 3 rounds, once a month is good after that. Keep them treated for mites with ivermectin poron. Whenever you see broken feather or stomping, chewing, rubbing, clipped is always best. And these horses are at an advantage, I think, because they don't have the feather of the breed that I work with most. So I'll show you how I put it on. I use my hands because gloves tend to be just kind of in the way. And we just start at the hock or the knee, and the whole goal is to massage it into the skin. Everything will stick to this for the first few days. Once it all soaks in, it just provides a barrier, and everything will shed off. And even when the oil is gone and completely soaked in, you can part the hair and still see the yellow sulfur will sit on the skin. And so if you're not showing and you're just workhorses like this, that it'll stay a while.
Explain to us the benefits of the sulfur.
The sulfur is a natural element. It's on the periodic table. You just dig it up right out of the ground. Most of it tends to, I think the manufacturing companies get it, it's as a byproduct of gas and petroleum drilling. So when they hit the sulfur, they purify it and sell it as a soil amendment, but it's naturally antibacterial, antifungal, and antiparasitic. So just having the legs oiled will keep mites at bay.
This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of back-to-the-land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.